input so that everybody has a fair and equal opportunity. I was a firefighter here in the district for over 30 years, and I worked in every single neighborhood and was in more houses than I can care to count for a lot of reasons. I currently work as a realtor with a designation as a senior specialist, and I volunteer a lot of my spare time, such that I have, with the Capitol Community Services, again, just down the road, but primarily with the seniors hub and driving seniors and helping out with the events that they have there. It's my intention to bring a regional balance to council and make sure that there's a direct link to each neighborhood as best we can do with the selection you have for candidates. It's my commitment to represent seniors and nonprofits and make sure that the programs that are in place now are maintained and that they continue to have a home and are available to everybody that needs them. And believe me, there's a lot of seniors and people out there that need those services. Everyone at the table's talked about traffic. It's been probably the major topic around the campaign altogether. We're all committed, and I'm committed to making sure that we find some resolve to the traffic, and public transport is a key part of that, as well as cycling and other modes of transportation, of course. So on November 15th, I encourage you to think about geographical representation. Vote for me, your neighbor, Kevin McCauley.
And Connie de Boer.
Thank you. My name is Connie de Boer. I'm a businesswoman in the film industry, a sports agent for Olympic athletes, and an avid outdoor enthusiast. I am also a 15-year veteran of Search and Rescue Canada. I'm currently an 8-year active team member of the North Shore Rescue Team, one of 5 women and 48 men. And I'm very proud of that. I started my first business at the age of 21. I built 3 successful businesses on my own, which proves that you're never too young to start as an entrepreneur. And hard work is what I believe in. My education is in the fine arts and agriculture. My passion is the outdoors and adventure, and my greatest accomplishment is being the mother of 3 grown children, 2 of which live here on the beautiful North Shore. I also have 2 little grandchildren. My idea of development is not tearing into the wilderness and creating more traffic, and it is not absentee landowners. It is district-driven with strong community support, not developer-driven. Extremely well-planned communities that promote active transportation with a community hub, minimizing traffic snarls, focusing on a healthy built environment. If we have to have growth to allow seniors and our children to live in this community, then it must be carefully controlled growth with a focus on beautifully designed small pockets close to excellent transit while not infringing on our great wilderness and green spaces. What do I bring to the table? I bring to the table the courage to make tough decisions, the dedication to do the job, and the ability to listen and represent the wishes and the well-being of the people in this community. Thank you.
Councillor Delbrook.
Good evening. My name is Delbrook, and I am running for re-election to council. I want to share with you some of the things that I've done in my time working for you. When I was on the school board, for example, I saw the elimination of the school board's deficit without impacting on classrooms. I caused an investigation of the black mold in the classrooms because of the health risk to our kids. That resulted in $75 million coming from the province back in the day to address that issue. Some of my council accomplishments was the first thing I did on council was to champion the building of the first North Vancouver artificial turf field. Why did I do that? Because soccer is democratic. Kids, regardless of economic background, can play. A whole year before Robert Dekansky died at YVR, I challenged the police in their overuse of tasers. So why is that important? Well, I was a police officer for 31 years, and it was not a popular thing to do with my former colleagues, but it had to be done. And I called for a moratorium. A year later, Robert Dekansky died at YVR. People are talking about amalgamation. Well, I was the one that actually pushed for the 9-person multi-jurisdictional amalgamation committee of citizens, well-qualified citizens, to look at the amalgamation and to develop a roadmap moving forward. And they did that. It was my motion, and my council supported it. But let me tell you about the thing that I'm really proud of. Because I'm a people person, and I believe in helping people. Last September, the first woman's recovery house for addictions opened on Lloyd Avenue, just to the north of the freeway. That was done with the support of many people in this room, including Edgemont Community Association, the very first one. I feel very, very good about that because I do not want to send our people, our women, and our kids to the downtown east side for treatment. Treatment begins at home, like charity does. My name is Doug McKay-Dunn. I hope you can support me again on the 15th of November.
Incumbent Councillor Roger Bassam.
Good evening, everyone. I am Roger Bassam, and a two-term councillor. I thank Delbrook Community Association for putting this together, and I think next time we're going to go for a bigger room. So, a quick update. So, Mr. Colbert raised the issue of people being out of their homes, and I think it's important for them to realize the district is a very well-run organization. The emergency center opened up last night. There were 23 evacuees. One of them was given occupancy overnight. The other 22 members found their own accommodations with family, friends, that sort of stuff. So we take care of our own. Normally, I would go on at this point and talk about the accomplishments we have, the visions that I have for the community. We hopefully have one of these. I invite you to go to my website. There's lots of policy information there. There's a lot of information about transportation. It's the number one issue in the community right now. There is a solution for the problem. We are already working on implementing that solution, and there's information there about that. So I encourage you to go there. Unfortunately, at this point, I have to talk about something that's fairly negative. On Sunday, I got a phone call from a friend in the community who is a community leader and said that she had received an email and that she was concerned that I was taking developer money. That an allegation from one of the council candidates, named Laycock, said that there's a number of people on council who have taken developer money, and I'm really concerned about this, Roger. What's going on? So this is from Mr. Laycock's website. And it indicates here that Roger Bassam took money from a company called TDL Holdings. Okay. This is the website for TDL Holdings. They make souvenir pens and keychains. They're very proud of being one of the best of the souvenir industry in Sri Lanka. Okay. Mr. Laycock is confused because this is the financial disclosure from my last campaign. I took 4 corporate donations. One from One Stop Mortgage Corporation, which is my friend Severio, Capilano Suspension Bridge, Grouse Mountain Resorts, and TDL Group Corporation, which is the parent company of Tim Hortons. I like coffee, I like donuts, and I really like their chili. I also like the fact that they're a great community company. I'm proud. I'm a little bit angry right now. I'm proud to support local businesses, local economy, jobs. It's what we need in our community. I hate mudslinging. I hate negative politics. I'm out of time, but there's a lot more to come. November 15th, we have an opportunity to elect very good people to lead our community, and I suggest, I'm hopeful that you all choose to do just that.
I'd like to hear from incumbent Councillor Robin Hicks, please.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming. There are lots more people outside. It's unfortunate that they couldn't be here. At the outset, I'd just like to say I did tour the Frome Road area tonight. There were no displacements at the current time. Most of the basements were the ones that were affected, and a lot of them are covered by insurance. Provincial funding will come first before we get into the act. We just provide emergency accommodation. we don't have the power to disperse funds, and before people start talking about what we should do, they should understand the financial operations of the district. And I categorically renounce that any secret closed-door meetings were made in my term of office over the last 9 years. And I will stand up and declare that in front of anybody, everybody, and any time. And I believe the mayor will make a few observations at the end of the meeting on that tact. I've lived in Lynn Valley for 35 years. I have 3 daughters, 7 grandchildren living close by. Their future, and that of all families on the North Shore who are coming here, of the utmost importance to me. I'm retired. I don't have any vested interest in either taking money or choosing certain developers. I'm here so that my children and the children who want to come here and populate our schools have that opportunity. I wish to shape the social, cultural, and physical environment of the district, and to provide financial leadership in a period of change. Change in the environment, change in buildings, change in council. I believe I have the skills to provide leadership to council, the new team that will emerge. I'm a chartered accountant with over 25 years of experience in local government and business. I've worked in Europe and Australia. I know a lot of things that we can put into place here. In my 40 years as a CA, I have an unblemished financial record and integrity, and I would, if anybody challenges that, I would ask particularly Mr. Laycock to look at his business background and his financial acumen. I chair our Finance and Audit Committee, and I sit on Vancouver's Finance Committee. Please vote for me on November 15th.
Well, thank you to all the candidates. Everybody's had an opportunity to speak. There's nobody who's been missed, is there? Good. I'd like to also thank the candidates for their brevity. We're conducting ourselves with great aplomb here this evening. So thanks to the candidates for that. We're going to move on to the next phase of the evening now, and these are, if you came in a bit late, if you managed to sneak in the door, these are questions which are being put to the candidates by the Delbrook Community Association. These are you and your neighbors, important questions here. I'll read the question out, and then I'm going to invite responses from the councillors in the reverse order. So we'll begin with Councillor Hicks, Bassett, and so forth down the line in reverse. Are we all clear on that? Now then, we're hoping to make these fairly short snappers so that everybody gets a chance to get in here. We're asking for 1-minute replies, please, if you can manage that. The first question, yes, Mr. Bowen?
Are we going to be strict on the 1 minute?
Yes, we're going to be strict.
Okay.
The gong is
Not
there,
1:15,
Bruce
not
behind it.
1:20?
Okay, all right. Well,
Okay.
only 1 minute and the gong.
The first question then, just so that we are all clear, the first question from the Delbrook Community Association candidates is, in July, District Council voted against a bylaw to rezone public assembly land at Raymar School for residential development. The same question is coming with regards to the Delbrook Recreation Centre. Where do you stand on the preservation of the Delbrook Recreation Centre site as public assembly land? Councillor Hicks.
In regards to that question, on the Braemar site, I voted against the development there because of the proximity of schools, the traffic impact, and the fact that the development would be almost adjacent to the new school. So I think that was a situation where common sense entailed that the development did not go ahead. In general, I support the preservation of public assembly lands. In certain situations, a repurposing can be beneficial, as with the Lynn Valley United Church, where the redevelopment there included a new invigorated church. The church was failing, and some housing, which included affordable housing, that included some social housing and units for the disabled. And the daycare, which was there, is being preserved in a very close location. The Delbrook lands will be subject to a very detailed, comprehensive engagement with the Delbrook Community Association. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bassett.
Thank you. So The district has taken a long, hard look at public assembly lands, and they're very important to us long-term. You know, land is expensive in the district, we all know that. Once it's gone, it's very difficult to reacquire, particularly large sites. And I have been a proponent of preserving the public assembly land, and we can see a future that is going to help us in the future. The Braymore specific site, interestingly, was not the dissolving of an entire site, liquidation of a site. It was taking a piece of property that the school board owns and does not utilize at all, and trying to turn that into an asset for the school board to help them pay off some debt that they have. It's nice that the district doesn't get themselves in that position. We're not quite as in difficult shape as the school board is that. With the Delbrook site specifically, we're going to go through really quickly. We have created a framework in the district to look at every piece of public assembly land that comes before us and say, what's the value to the community? What's the potential use for this? And here comes the go. So we've got the framework, we're going to use it. That will be the process that we go through with Delbrook, and the community will absolutely be involved in that discussion.
Thank you. Councillor Delbrook-Dunn.
Just to answer your question, in terms of the decision on Braemar, I actually voted against it. I commented on the fact that the real problem was the fact that the province is underfunding public education. And why should the community pick up the slack when the province should be doing it? After all, in terms of public education funding, we're about second from the bottom. And so we're all suffering in that regard. In terms of the Delbrook site, I believe in community-based planning. So what does that mean? That means we reach out, we lay it out with the community, we work with the community association, we listen, we actually do listen. I know myself many times at public hearings, it's the public hearing that's caused me to change my mind based on what I've heard. I carry a notebook with me, my policing, and I make comments, or rather I copy everything down, and from that I make evidence-based decision based on what the community needs. Thank you.
Connie de Boer.
I wasn't sure if I'd be answering the same question.
I got mixed up.
As a sports professional, I really believe it's very important to hang on to any sports facilities and any kind of properties that can be used for sports, because that is so important in the development of a healthy built community. But I also know that these areas of land, it's like my colleagues have said, once they're gone, they're gone. So if there is cases where they have to use them for something, it has to be something that the public wants in this small community, whether that's seniors housing, whether it's something for young families whose young children are going to these schools. If it's something that the community needs and wants and is willing to trade for that land, that's where the public consultation comes in, and that's where it's crucial. So I would say, number one, we've got to be so careful in hanging on to these properties and making very valuable decisions on them and not taking them lightly, and certainly not just using them to build our tax base. Thank you.
Kevin McCauley.
Well, this one's relatively easy for me because I'm at the Delbrook site virtually every day. I'm there helping with the seniors, watching the people come and go, picking up their Red Cross supplies, the Keep Well Society, the youth outreach program, and of course the seniors program, which I'm heavily involved with. We need that building. We don't need that building, but we need that organization to be solid in there. There is some plans in place to move it down to the lower cap when that's developed. That could be quite a while away. That building may not last that long, but we need that property to be able to maintain those services. Those services serve many of you or your friends or family in this neighborhood. We need to have that land there. So what it becomes with public input, community input, will be a good thing when it's redeveloped, but it needs to have those services and a home for those services because they're easy to get lost in the shuffle in development.
Councillor Lisa Murray.
Thank you. Over 18 years, I think I've proven to the community that I support
the positions that they take when something's happening in their backyard. We're an educated community. We understand what we want and what we don't want, and I've been okay with that. I voted against Braemar because the community came out overwhelmingly and said they weren't interested in redevelopment in that neighborhood. Selling off land to pay school district 44 debt is a broken model, and it's not a sustainable model, and it will never serve us well in the future. That land is there, and once it's gone forever. As far as the Delbrook community site, Mayor Walton and myself were both very vocal in separating redevelopment aspects of Delbrook with the William Griffin Community Center. We wanted no part of that connection because the community has to be able to have a say with what happens in Delbrook. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we should get rid of that land. I don't think that land should be redeveloped. I think it should be made available for the local community, and I think the community has a major say in what happens on that property, and I don't think redevelopment is it. Thank you.
Hazen Colbert.
The first thing I'm going to address is the issue of closed secret meetings. I've raised the issue, you're going to hear it. I'm not actually the expert on it, and don't believe a word that comes from this existing council and the incumbents. Believe what Dr. Trevor Carolyn reported in the North Shore News at the end of September. He's far more knowledgeable about this than any other person in the room. With respect to the Delbrook Community Center, the first step is deep and broad community consultation. Early and often, public engagement should include interactive town halls and public hearings. Success measured by the number of people who attend and the satisfaction ratings that they give to the process. Local residents must have priority over developers. And finally, if there is a proposal put forward to dispose of any public land assembly, not just the Delbrook Center, any public facility, it should only be disposed of after a referendum, as required, I understand, by the regulations and the law, and with no shenanigans around not having the referendum unless people make a loud noise. Well, that was a loud noise. I guess that means...
We as a district have a remarkable sense of community, and this needs to be maintained. If it is decided a service using public assembly land is no longer required or successful, then we should focus and look for a new community-focused use for it. As said by my fellow councillor hopefuls up here, it's hard to get that land back. So we need to make sure that land is focused on what it was initially used for, because as a community, we need to keep a sense of community. So we need to keep these lands for the public and the public use. That's all.
Len Laycock.
Thank you. Well, a lot's been said about that. I'm not keen to sell off the land. I think we need our commons, we need our public space, we need our public squares, and whatever uses we want to put them to, the community wants to put them to, we should retain those. And I don't need to regurgitate a lot of what's been said, because I agree with most of what I heard about it. Now, it does all tie in with development, though, and I was criticized a little earlier for raising the matter of where campaign funds come from. This has become an issue all over the Lower Mainland. Who is supporting who on council, and the role that developers play in the community. It's a legitimate campaign issue. I simply accessed the public disclosure documents that are published by the District of North Vancouver and found that information. If I understood Roger Bassam properly, he has had some financial support in the past from Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is the largest fast food real estate developer in Canada. So I stand by what I said. And similarly so, Mr. Hicks also has taken money from BOSA's representative, Mark Sager, and from Polygon. And I don't agree that any councillor should take money from developers when they're sitting in judgment.
Jim Hanson. Godzilla in the background.
Good evening again. As a matter of philosophy, I believe in the preservation of public lands, public spaces for public use. It may not be an absolute rule. There are exceptions to every principle of philosophy. But in general, that will be my bias on council, the preservation of what is ours collectively for a collective use and a collective enjoyment. Perhaps most importantly, though, is the consultation process. Others have spoken of this. Organizations like the Delbrook Community Association, I'm involved in my own community association. We believe we have say, we have influence, and I look forward in particular to ensuring as a council member that the processes, the public consultation processes are full, fair, and complete. Thank you very much.
Wayne Hunter?
I don't know what you guys would be able to say. I guess next to Jim, I'll have to agree. I agree. In general, I support the retention of publicly assembled lands, but I'm not ideologically opposed at any given time, subject to a process of community-based planning. It doesn't change the character of the neighborhood. But in certain circumstances, we have to understand we have to pay for things. So if we're going to have a new community center or a new sports arena, it's got to come from somewhere. And subject to what I just said, that the community agrees that whatever is going to be developed, that they agree with it, then it should be disposed of. But in principle, I'm in favor of retaining as much as we can, but there's going to be circumstances where tough decisions will have to be made. And that's clearly the challenge for any councillor. Nothing is ever black and white.
Linda Bindley?
Thank you. And yes, being under 12 out of 14 responses to this, it's difficult to add anything because I think we're all pretty much on the same page. We all support the retention of public assembly lands to as much as we can. Certainly the Delbrook Community Center is something that I can't see going away. My husband actually was out of the last graduating class at the Delbrook High School, which was there before, and then it developed into the community center, so I can't see that it's going to go anywhere but towards public use. Certainly the involvement of the Delbrook Community Association is required to look at the uses for that land, and as we've said, everybody's said, and has been given by incumbent councillors, there is a process and a framework around that, and I'm sure you guys will all be involved in it, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Matthew Bond.
Thanks, Trevor. I just feel I have to address the tension I can feel across the table here about the donations and the developer donations that are going on right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge each one of my fellow candidates here to do exactly what I've done. And you can find out this out right now. Go to my website, matthewbond.com. You can see exactly who has donated to my campaign, how much money they've donated, and how much money I've spent on my campaign, right down to the last detail. So to avoid all this mudslinging back and forth, why don't we just all do that?
I'm going to do exactly what he said.
To address the issue of public assembly lands, it's really about community consultation and what you want as a community. And really we need to look at how to successfully hold those public engagement processes so that they're flexible, they provide the ability for a safe place for people to talk about the issues and discuss the idea that we need to listen to concerns and adapt to those concerns and address the issues. We also need to get away from the public hearing format, the traditional one, because people like myself who work all day and all night can't get out to those to have our voice said. Thanks.
Glenn McKenzie.
Well, thank you. I guess I get the last word. I will happily publish my donor contributions on my website. As I've told you, I have absolutely no problem with that. I'm completely independent of corporate or union or party interests. Good point. I am in principle in favor of preserving public assembly lands as an asset, and I am against selling assets off to pay the credit card. It doesn't work. You lose, quick way to lose a business. I support preserving with public input, but in a public process. But generally, I support in principle preserving the Delbrook site as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question we've got from the Delbrook Community Association for the candidates, and we'll follow the same procedure again in speaking order. Speaking for the association, we're very concerned about consultation, as we were assured by several